All right. Okay, let's click live. Go live. All right. So welcome. See, I'm getting a warning from YouTube on my bitrate. I'm not sure if it'll let me change it live, but let's see. We'll see. Maybe it will. Let's see. Stream. Okay, maybe let me try. I'll try. I'm going to try. Let's see. Live. See if we can send it at that rate. Oh yeah, the warning went away. Oh no, error. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Uh-oh. Okay. You see? What's the problem here? Ah. Hold on. For some reason, it's not connecting me through the landline. Thought I had it so smooth. I'm ready to roll. Let me... Ethernet, yes. Not connected. Well, we'll just do the best we can over Wi-Fi. And you let me know if it's like jerky over there or something, all right? If you guys don't have a smooth connection. It does look a bit like it's, yeah, like it's not sure. All right, hold on just a sec. I'll be right back. Nah. Are you guys experiencing a smooth connection, or is it circling? Is it laboring? So, shalom. Yanasi, Gabrielle, Julie, Bruce, Devora, Brooke, Mentat Assassin, love that name, and Jessica. Are you guys seeing a smooth connection right now? Or is it buffering by you? Can somebody let me know? I'm getting a warning from YouTube. Yeah, for some reason my laptop's not... The LAN seems to have gone down. It's connecting to a Wi-Fi upstairs. I could take a minute and go fix that, but I don't want to bother with it if you guys are seeing okay. Okay, since nobody's answering, I'm assuming it's buffering. I'm going to go check on that real quick. I'll be right back. Let's see. Well, this should just take a moment. 1 minute. Sorry. All right, we're back. Excellent connection this time. Sorry, there was, there's always something. I thought I had it all perfect tonight, all tested already. We're going to be great. And somehow the LAN connection got unplugged. It's like... All right, so visual should be better now. We're sending to you at 4K. All right. So I wanted to, for the prayer tonight, there's a psalm that's a bit appropriate. This one makes mention of what we're going to read about tonight. So I thought this would be kind of good. And maybe what I'll do is I'll sing this for you. According to the tradition that I was taught. I'm not sure how popular this is, but this is how I was taught by my rabbi, Jacob, as he was taught by his rabbi, Max Rothkopf. And let's just see. Kayanasi sing it, Glory Shalom, Sosa. Somebody else, let me know what your connection's like. I'm hardwired now to the matrix, so it should be okay. All right, so Lechu niranena l'Adonai nariya letzuyishenu nikadem afanayv betoda yadadai dai yadadai dai dai bizmirat nariya lo כי אל גדול אדוני ומלך על כל אלוהים אשר בידו מקרי הארץ ותועפות הרים לו אשר לא הם והוא עשהו ידדי די די ידדי די 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 ויבש את ידיו יצרו בואו נשתחווה וניחא נבראך לפני אדוני עושנו כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו עמתו וצנידו ידדי די די ידדי די 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 היומים בו קולו תשמעו אל תקשו לבבכם כי מריבה כיום מסע במדבר אשר ניסוני אבותיכם ידדי די די ידדי די די בחנוני גמרה ופעולי 40 שנה עקו בדור ואמרם תוהי לבבהם והם לא ידעו דרכי אשר נשבעתי ויפי ידדי די די ידדי די די אם יבוא למנוחתי. And usually we go right into the next song שיר לאדוני שיר חדש. Anyway, so that's Psalm, well, we call it Lechun Ranana, which is Psalm 95. Tzadi is 90 and Hey is 5. And okay, great. It's sharp over there by Gabriel. Thank you, Jessica. Baruch Hashem. Yeah, kind of a nice little tradition there, right? And but the psalm, without translating all of it, although it starts like go, let us go. That's what that means. Ranan, have you ever heard the Arabs when they're very excited? They go. That's what this verb means. So let's go. It's onomatopoetic. Let's niranena. You see, there's 3 noons here in a row. Niranena. So let's do niranena. Let's make that victory sound to Adonai. Now, yeah, let us shout letzur to the rock Yishainu of our Yeshesha, of our salvation, our victory. Nekadama, let us draw near, fanayv to his presence, his face. Betodah, with thankfulness. Bizmirot narialo, with music, specifically. Zimra is usually on instruments. Naria, we will shout low to him. Ki el gadol Adonai, for a great God is Adonai, umelech gadol kol Elohim, and king, a great king over all heavenly powers. Asher be'adom okay, I'm going to translate the whole thing if I'm not careful. Anyway, sorry about the foundations of the earth, etc. But the point I wanted to draw attention to is here, verse 8. We're going to be experiencing that tonight in our reading. Al takshu levavchem. Do not make harsh levavchem, your minds. Literally your heart, but that word usually means mind. Kimriva, like at Merivah. Merivah is a location that Moshe is going to name, and the root of it is riv, which is a quarrel. Keyom masa, like the day of testing. Bamidbar, in the wilderness. Asher nisuni, how they tested me. Avotechem, your ancestors, bechanuni gam ra'u faulai. When they, let's see. So it's kind of interesting. So chanun, if it's Hashem that's a subject, it's a nice thing, right? But in this case, it's they like agitated me. Gam usually means also, but in the psalm it's like a extra oomph. So even though Ra'u they saw Fa'olai, my wonders. Arbaim, and then it's just bad after that, 40 years and all this stuff. So it ends on kind of a bad note, okay? Like, they won't enter into my rest. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of my time since it's not Psalm night, but that was kind of in lieu of the prayer tonight, the opening prayer. That Psalm I thought was specific to what we're going to read about. So, and this is, if you're curious, this is the Art Scroll Tehillim. Pretty decent. Yep. Decent little Psalter. Whoa, look at this. Brooke says, wow, I just practiced this psalm today in Hebrew on a different melody. Yeah, there's lots of different melodies, right? Yeah. So whatever works, whatever helps you. And singing is a great way to memorize scripture, guys. This is why the Bible, the entire Hebrew Bible, has musical notation on almost every word. Like 99% of the words. Musical notes. But Hebrew musical notes, right? Telling our ancestors how to sing the text, right? Because this is how it was memorized. It wasn't like today, everybody's got a Bible. Back then, you only had a Bible if you were wealthy, right? You could pay a scribe to write a copy for you of, and usually just the books that you were going to be working on, right? So we are so blessed to have access to the entire Word, the entire Scripture. Yeah, so Yasani says, I had to manually set my TV to my YouTube to 4K and not auto. Auto will throw it at 140. Oh, good. I'm glad you solved that. There's a tip if anybody's seeing blurry stuff. We are sending it to you in 4K, so you should be getting it in 4K. If you're not, then although it's not really like the quality of a true 4K, It's 2.8K. My laptop scaled up to 4K, but still, you should see it pretty well. Brooke says, yes, I memorize the best with music. Yes. I found this in my own life. Like, when I decide I want to memorize, like, a lot more scripture in Hebrew, I just kind of took stock, and I was thinking about the Psalms. This is many years ago when I lived in Texas. I was just thinking, how many Psalms do I know already? And I was surprised to know, just from our traditional prayers, Kabbalat Shabbat, Erev Shabbat, Motzi Shabbos, and, Ma'ariv, and all these other things, Mincha, like, just from the singing that we do of the songs, I already had them memorized. So it's kind of, and some of them even before I understood all the words, right? So I wouldn't even know the words, but it's memorized. And so really music is a key that will help you. If you're struggling to internalize Hebrew scripture, either find a song there's so many traditions for different songs, or make your own. Make your own, why not? And if you're into praise and worship, like I play saxophone and I compose music, I haven't had time in a few years, but I found that when I started going through the Psalms in Hebrew, I used to go through them all every week, right? All the Psalms in Hebrew every week. And I found when I was doing that, oh my gosh, the creativity just overflowed. Like, there wasn't time. I started recording all the ideas for melodies, original melodies and words, and so just hundreds of ideas just recorded that even didn't get a chance to be developed. So he will really bless you when you're using the Hebrew from the Psalms and praise and worship. And when you're singing it, your soul's going to be on autopilot. This happens to me to this day. Like, sometimes I'll be with a family, we'll be singing Psalms and stuff, and I'll accidentally start, like, thinking of something else. That's not good, by the way. That's not to be recommended. That's not with kavanah. That's bad Jew. But sometimes it happens, and I'm daydreaming, right? And then I wake up from my daydream, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're halfway through the psalm, and I was singing it. But my brain, and then I sometimes mess myself up because I'm like, oh, where are we? But it was fine until I realized. So it's like even your basar, your body, and your nefesh, your life force, your soul wants to keep singing, even though the ruach might be thinking about something else. So there's really, really something, I can't recommend it enough. It will really enrich your spiritual walk, and then you're going to be shocked. I've seen this happen with many of my students, even when they're on the intro level. After they memorize, I usually make them memorize Psalm 1 in the Hebrew. And then it's like later on, we're talking about some concept, or we're looking in the Torah in the Hebrew, and someone says, hey, Psalm 23 has that word in Hebrew. They remember it, and they can't even believe they remember it, like the Psalms that they didn't memorize, right? So really, really what we're doing is we're giving ammunition to the Ruach. We're saying, hey, here we are, communicate with me. Here is the Hebrew that I'm internalizing. I'm putting this word inside of me, and that gives the Ruach, when he does that soft whisper, he can bring up those words. I'm always shocked. Like if I'm teaching or something, like something I didn't know I knew in Hebrew will come up in Hebrew. It's like, whoa. Like, you'll be surprised this way too, as many of my students have been. It's not me, it's not them, it's because it's Lashon HaKodesh. It's the Holy Tongue. Yeah, so let's get with our Hebrew for tonight, our reading from the Torah. We are in Exodus, chapter 17. We start tonight. Can you believe it? We've already gone through 16 full chapters, and we're getting pretty far in Kings also, in the Kings night, so you guys should be encouraged. And that stuff is going to be also in your subconscious. It's going to come up. It's going to come up. So here we are, Perek, that means chapter. Like really like allotment, something like that. Yod is 10 and Zion is 7. So there's 17. And I have to get a drink of water. Sorry, even though we're early in, just hold on. One of my congregants gave me a bottle of wine, and I'm the only one in the family who drinks it, so I opened a little bit and drank at dinner. And, wine goes really nice with meat. We're having meat. And it makes me thirsty, though, so I'm feeling a little bit thirsty. All right, so here we are. Here's the people. They're traveling. Looks like a desert area, right? Not so great. And here we go. Verse 1. Vayis'u kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Okay, so this again is that verb, nun samech ayin, nasa, not nasa, not the with the aleph that means to carry, to bear, to lift up, right? That we associate with NASA, lifting things up to space. This is nasa with an ayin, ayin, and nasa means to pull up tent stakes. And by the time we get to biblical Hebrew, it has already developed to mean to travel. Okay, so the nun is gone. Verbs that have a noon as their first root letter, oftentimes, woo, it's out of there. It goes away. All right? Now, the yod tells you it's third person. That means he or they. The u at the end tells you it's plural. So this is going to be they. So yis means they are traveling or they will travel. The vav consecutive changes the time. And they traveled, past tense. Who's the subject? Kol adat b'nei Yisrael. All of the Aida ends in a hey. And when you have a noun that ends in a hey and it changes to tav, that means of. So the Aida of, the assembly of the Bnei Yisrael. Now this one's different because this one ends in mem, banim, children or sons, right? That's a plural masculine. So when it ends in a mem and it's plural and that mem goes away, that means of. So we have the hey became a tu for of and the mu went away for the of, okay? So kol, all of, the adat, the aida of, the assembly of, the banim of Yisrael becomes bnei Yisrael. All of the assembly of the children of Israel. Okay? I'm so glad I took the moment to go mess with the plug. I'm glad we're plugged in the landline. It says excellent connection. Hallelujah. Okay. Mimid barsin. Mi is from. And if you remember when I talked about this the other night, the standalone version of this word is min. Mem nun, right? M and N. Min. That means from. And what happens is when you connect it to a word, that nun assimilates. It goes inside the next letter and doubles it. That's why there's a dagesh there. So this is telling us there are two mems. So really we have three mems in a row. Mem and then the double mem here, okay? So mi from mim is really what it is. Mim midbar sin. From the wilderness of Sin. Lemas'ahem al pi Adonai. Okay, for mas'ahem, this is their travels. The hem at the end means their, and if you recognize the pronouns, you can recognize that even without learning the suffix. Hey, shalom, Brenda and Elizabeth. Glad you gals made it. Okay. Al, it was one of our Hebrew words of the day, right? Al meant on or concerning. P is like from pe. It's kind of weird. Pe is mouth, ending in a hey, but it becomes P when it's mouth of. So literally this says concerning the mouth of Yod He Waw He Adonai. So by the command of Adonai, by the order of Adonai is what that's saying. Like his speech, he's the one who spoke it. Vayachanu birvidim ve'ein mayim. Mayim, ein mayim, lishtot ha'am. Okay, so this verb, kind of hard to recognize. It's the verb chana or chane, which is chet, noon, and it ends in a hey. That's to camp or encamp. And then we have the yod, and the hey went away, and we have the u, so that tells us they, right? Yod is he or they, and the u at the end tells us they. So yachanu is they will camp or they are encamping. The vav changes the time. Vayachanu, and they encamped or they camped. Be means at or in. Refidim is the name of a place. Ve'ein, vav, but ein, there was not mayim, water. Leshtot, to drink. Ha'am, the people. Sounds a bit caveman-ishy, but that's just how it's written. And hold on, I need to... Speaking of drinking, I need to balance that wine out. Great, much better. Okay. Okay, so we have a little bit of a dispute going on here, looks like. This guy's concerned. All right. Trying to keep they have a running English translation on the bottom. I'm trying to keep that off the page. I don't want anybody looking at that. Try not to look if I have it up there by accident. Hey, shalom, Betty. Okay, good. Thank you for the likes. Verse 2. Vayarev ha'am. Okay, so this is the verb riv. Reish, and then there's no yod here. Beit, that's the root. Riv, which is to have a dispute. To dispute, to quarrel. Sometimes it can be used in judicial language, right? Like to make a legal argument, but that's not what's happening here. Okay. So Yariv is he will quarrel. What's the subject? Ha'am, the people. But then the Vav changes the time. Vayarev ha'am. And the people quarreled. Aim with Moshe. Vayomeru. And they said, Tenu lanu mayim. Venishte. Give. This is command from Natan. The plural form. If it's just talking to one person, it's tain. Tain. Like, give me. Tain. Talking to a woman, it's teni. Talking to a mixed group of people, a plural, it's tenu. Right? Come in. It's an imperative. Give. Lanu. Lam it is to. The nu should remind you of nachnu or nachnu, which means we. Give to us. Mayim. Water. Venishte. So this is the verb shata, which is to drink, and the noon means we. You see the noon at the beginning of the word there? If it's not making it passive, then it's the we will drink. Venishte, and we will drink. Vayomer lahem Moshe. And Moshe said to them, to him. And him, you know from the pronouns, to them. Okay, what's he say? Ma terivun imadi. Ma, what, or why, terivun. So there it is. You see the yod actually in the riv there now, right? It's got the full root there. The ta at the beginning reminds you of ata, you. Okay? The u here means plural, you all, like y'all. So terivu is y'all are quarreling. And then that noon at the very end, this is a very special feature of biblical Hebrew. If you want to Google it, it's called the Peragogic noon. Peragogic. Okay? Say that 3 times fast. Peragogic, Peragogic, Peragogic. The Peragogic noon, it's a little controversial, but the scholarly consent is this is like an exclamation point in the middle of the sentence. Okay? So, Hebrew can do that. You can put an exclamation point in the middle of the sentence. Ma tarivun. Which, by the way, is kind of funny. So, I am a student of Arabic, classical Arabic, intro, very low level, nothing to brag about, okay? But years ago, I remember when I was first getting into it, I was curious. I thought, I wonder if the Quran, being in classical Arabic, is easy to understand knowing classical Hebrew, right? Because I know classical Hebrew, maybe, they've got some overlap, although Quran is actually much later date, It's more of a medieval work, not a work from antiquity, right? But I thought, let's see. And it was so funny to me because all over the Quran, it's got this un ending. Un. So it felt to me, reading it in Arabic, trying to put stuff together, that they're shouting at me all the time. Why do you keep shouting? I'm not sure if it works that way. I got to ask our friend Yehoshua over there in the UK, a dear friend of mine who's a Messianic Syrian, right? So he's native Arabic speaker. I got to ask him about that in Hebrew, it's kind of rare, right? In biblical Hebrew. But in the Quran, it was everywhere. So I don't know if the guy just wasn't that poetic and he's shouting at everybody all the time, so that's what it felt like. So I kept laughing because it felt like, why is it still shouting? I got the exclamation point enough. It might not be. It's a different language, right? It might not be, but it just felt that way to me. So anyway, ma tarivun. Why are y'all quarreling? Imadi. This is another way to say with. You should recognize the aim from with, right? We had that over here. Aim. This one still exists in modern Hebrew even, although they usually say it. But imadi, imad, this is an old form. With me. Maybe because he's using the exclamation point. Maybe he's using this to kind of drag his words out. Ma tenasun. There it is again. Et Adonai. Okay. This ma, why, tenasun. So even if you don't know the verb, you know the ta, it's about you, from ata, right? Or at, we don't know yet, but then we look at the u at the end, we know it's plural, masculine, right? Tenasu, tenasu, it's from the verb nasa, not the one with an aleph. I'm sorry, they sound the same, right? This is nun, samech, hey, and the hey went away, okay? Which means to test. And you see that dagesh in the samech? That's the middle root letter. And remember I said if you put a strong dagesh in the middle root letter, 1, 2, 3, and the third one, I'm not flipping you the bird, I'm being very careful, but this one here, then it strengthens usually the meaning of the verb, right? So this is to put to the test. So matena soon, why are you putting the test? Exclamation point. Et Adonai. Everybody with me? Okay, we're doing all right on time, which means I get some more water. Yeah, nope, where's my cold one? Oh, there we go. Okay. Yofi. All right, let's change pages. Love these graphic novels. This is so fun, isn't it? Going through with a graphic novel. You can kind of sense from the picture what's going on a little bit. Just gives us a little extra, a little way to make your memory connect a bit better. If you'd like this book, please consider supporting the publisher. It's from Glossa House. You can buy it at glossahouse.com. They have a whole series of illustrated biblical original language books. Joshua, Ruth, Jonah, this one. And they have Greek too, if you like Greek. I've got, is it Matthew or John? I can't remember the one. I got one of them over here on my desk, one of the Greek ones, although it's not as quality as the Hebrew one. But still, they've got some interesting, they have Septuagint Greek version of Daniel in cartoon form. I mean, they're an interesting publisher. So you can get it from them, or you can get it from Amazon.com. Yanasi says, emphatic samech. I like the way you think, Achi. I like the way you think. So, it's not, we don't call it emphatic. But you're right, it kind of functions that way. It's not the samech itself. When you have 3 letters, right, which usually our verb has 3 root letters, and you take the middle one and you double it. The way we double it, we write a dagesh in there, right, a strong dagesh. Then usually that strengthens the meaning of the verb, right? So for the example I love to give is shavar. Shavar, shin beit resh. Shavar is to break, okay? But if I put a strong dagesh and double that middle beit, right? Shin beit resh. So the beit I'm going to double, right? I'm going to double that one, okay? Shibber, right? Now it's the intensive verbal form. You could call it the intensive verbal stem, or in Hebrew grammar we call it the Piel, binyan. Now instead of to break, like shavar, shiber means to utterly smash to pieces. You see? It doesn't always work this way, but this is one thing that's beautiful about the verbal system in Hebrew. You can learn the meaning of the call, like the basic verb, and then if you know these little rules, for basically, we've been talking about Hifil a lot. You stick a yod in before the third letter, or you put a hey in front of it, and that makes it the causative verbal stem, or what we call the Hifil binyan, right? When you do that, it's the causative form of that verb usually. So that's kind of cool, right? So you can take the word to kill, katal, and you put it in Hifil, hiktil, to cause, to kill. Well, that's to murder. So you can, and there's one that's to do it to yourself. If you put hit in front of it, it's to do to oneself. So hit katel is to kill oneself. Hit shaber is to break oneself to pieces, right? So once you kind of know these patterns, you can get a lot of bang for your buck. You learn one root, and suddenly you can predict maybe, in an optimal situation, 7 new words without having to memorize them. So you're with Hebrew, you're kind of going like this. You're learning your vocab, you're kind of getting patterns, and then you're going to reach a breaking point where suddenly, boom, like you have a big quantum jump, because you have, let's say, you're doing the Hebrew word of the day with me, right? Every day we're doing one of the more common words. Okay, so you're learning these roots, you're learning the basic forms of the verbs, and we're slowly getting the patterns in our immersion learning, right? This is just a forecast of what's to come. Then you're going to reach this point where you recognize the forms, and you have a decent amount of vocabulary, maybe a couple hundred words or whatever, and then you'll see a Hifil version of verb you didn't memorize, but you know the basic meaning. Now you can predict it. right? Or the Piel version, or the Nifal, which is passive, or the Hifil, which is to do yourself. So it's really nicely, excuse me for using programmer speak, it's nicely orthogonal, like an orthogonal instruction set in assembly programming, like the PDP-11 to any old programmers out there. Hebrew's like this. And the verbal system, it's a nice pattern of 7. It's 7. If you're curious about this, check out on my playlist under language snippets. Look for the picture of the menorah. I use the menorah to illustrate. It's not original. Somebody else taught me that way, and I don't remember who was the first one. It's been around a long time. But I use the classical representation of the menorah, and it's like a nice mirror image, and it makes it very easy to give you a fast-track look at the verbal system in Hebrew, how these different binyanim, these different buildings of the verbal patterns work. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. The middle one is to do to yourself. On the left side, it's the basic meaning. On the right side, it's the causative. And then the next one is like passive, and then causative, passive, right? And intense passive. It's so beautiful, and the way it works, symmetrical and all that stuff. And you can really learn it fast drawing the menorah, and then you can put them out, and it'll help you to remember that. Anyway, I did some animations. I put some time in. I think you'll like it. Mentat Assassin says orthogonal like 68,000, not the 8086. Ha ha ha, Motorola. Those were the days, yes. Yeah, not like the polluted instruction set of the 8086. Okay, I know what you know. I know where you're coming from. All right, so back to Hebrew. Sorry for the tech shop talk. Yanasi says maybe the word of the day can be expanded to include the different binyanim. Yeah, I'm considering how to do. I don't want to stop the word of the day because vocabulary is very important. I made this mistake with Greek. Where with Greek, I kept learning the grammar and felt very strong in the grammar. I'd go through a grammar book, and learn some words, and then time would go by and I'd forget it, and I couldn't really get into the word because I didn't have a big enough vocabulary. So finally, I just pushed myself to hit all the common vocabulary words. And then that was the key. Then I was able to dive in and, so I'm trying to give you guys that one day at a time. I don't want to detract from the vocab, but I am trying to figure out how to sneak in there some little grammar rules here and there, right? Yeah, so Julie, remember, these shorts have to be 60 seconds or less, so that kind of limits what I can do. Julie says, I looked up the word of the day in other passages so I can see other ways it is presented. That is a great idea. That is a really good idea. Yeah, I used to do a similar thing. When I would look up a word, I would look to see what other passages, just like you're saying, and see how it's used in those passages. If you have the time to do that, excellent. Do that. All right. Okay, yeah. Verse 3. Vayitzma sham ha'am. Okay. Tsama is to be thirsty. Okay. Tsama, to be thirsty, or tsame, you'll see it. Yitzma, so literally this says he. Yitzma, he will be thirsty. The vayitzma changes to and he was thirsty. Who's the he? Jump over here. Ha'am, the people. Hebrew just does this. There's some collective nouns that it's a group of more than one person, but the noun itself, it's a singular, so the verb will be singular. But it's not always consistent. Sometimes the verb will be plural, so you just roll with it. Okay, so vayitzma, sham means there. Ha'am. So the people there thirsted. Lamayim, for the mayim, for the water. They were thirsty for the water. Vayalin ha'am. Okay. Now this is a hollow verb. The verb shows up as loon or as lean. There's some controversy over what the real root is. Let's just say loon for now. When you have a verb where the middle letter is a yod or a vav, and u, that's a vav, as a shurik, making a u sound, oftentimes we call them hollow verbs because the hollow part in the middle disappears. So here we're left with only the first radical, the lamed, and the last one, noon. Okay? So it means to lodge, to spend the night. A malon, which is from this root, is a hotel. It's the place, the thing which you use to spend the night. Okay? So yalin means he will spend the night. Vayalin means and he spent the night. Who's the he? Ha'am, the people. Okay. Any comments or questions? Oh, nice turnout. Baruch Hashem. Please make sure to click like. I see many of you didn't click like. If you like, you don't have to lie. If you don't like, maybe keep it to yourself. No, you can tell me. All right. Al Moshe. Okay. Ah, okay. I'm sorry. This word looks exactly the same as grumbled, complained. So the people complained. I had to read the next part to get it. Sorry about that. It's also hollow. So they complained al against. It looks the same to lodge and to complain. They complained al against Moshe, Moses. Vayomer, and he said, Lama ze he'alitanu. The he, by the way, is ha'am, the people, right? So it's really they are saying, right? Lama, for what? So why? Для русских говорящих это будет зачем. Не почему, но зачем. Lama ze, why is this? He'alitanu. So the verb is Allah, ayin lamed hey, and the hey went away. And then we have a hey at the front, which tells you it's a hifil, it's a causative. And there's also a yod stuck in there, right? So the hifil is telling you cause to come up. So he'elita means you brought up nu, from nachnu or anachnu, us. He'elitanu, you brought us up. So the hey says it's causative. Allah is to go up, so to cause to go up. That sounds weird in English. Should we say brought up? Lama ze, for what purpose is this? He'elitanu, that you brought us up. Me, from Mitzrayim, Egypt. Lehamit, to die? Oh, actually not just to die, to kill. To kill's got that hey at the beginning. The root is mut, mem. It's a hollow verb, and the yod is gone. Pardon me, the vav is gone. And the hey, it's causative. So to cause, to die, what's that mean? That's to kill. To kill, oti, me, ve'et banai, and my children. This is banim. We drop the mem, so it's children of yod, children of me. Banai, my children. Ve'et miknai, and my flock, my herds, pardon me. Oh, my livestocks. Better. But sama, with the sama, thirst. Usually it would be tsameh, but this is the last words in the verse, so we got an extra oomph, the vowel lengthened. Yanasi says, haha, we're learning Hebrew with Russian on the side. I had a feeling there might be a couple Russian viewers, so, there's a lot of Russian Jews in the world, so I decided to slip that in real quick. Because Russian is the same dichotomy. In English, we say why, and we're not really so focused on for what purpose or just in general, how, why. But Russian parallels nicely there with Hebrew, so that's why I decided to give them, just in case, make them feel warm, make them feel loved, our Russian speakers, Russians speak Russians and Ukrainians, and many Poles speak Russian, and in Israel, 20% of Israelis speak Russian. When I lived in Haifa it's 25%. So when I lived in Haifa, and I'm trying to get by on biblical Hebrew, and if I didn't know how to say something, like to a clerk or something at a store, I'd say "Говорите по-русски," and usually "da," and so that was like my fallback, so I could figure out what to do there. So a lot of Israelis speak Russian, and a lot of them are learning it in schools because so many other Israelis speak it. I mean, 1 in 5, and if you're in Haifa, 1 in 4, and if you're in Nahariya, 90%, like up far north. So many Russians up north. Bruce says, my whole family is interested in Hebrew now. Laughing out loud. All are listening. Praise Adonai. Hallelujah. Welcome to Pastor Bruce's family. Glad you guys are here. That's great. Baruch Hashem. It's the holy tongue. It's so powerful. Learn it. And it's not as alien and weird as it looks. You can learn to read the alphabet. Hebrew is easier to read than English, by the way. For foreigners, say shalom, Dr. Dwayne. I just saw you up there. For foreigners trying to learn English, the spelling is crazy. Like in English, E-N-O-U-G-H. That's enough, right? Enough. But D-O-U-G-H is dough. Why isn't that duff and the others are no, right? There's all this crazy stuff. Hebrew doesn't do that. You read it like it's written. Okay, so very nice, very phonetic. You don't have all these strange spelling issues, silent E's and all that stuff. Hey, shalom, Yakar. And Davey, glad you guys are here. All right, continuing on. Plus, I think the comic book format is really, really great. I don't know if I hope you guys like it. I really enjoy this with the pictures and stuff. It's nice. All right, verse 4. Vayitzak Moshe el Adonai lemor. So tza'ak is to cry out. A tza'aka is an outcry, right? So the yod tells you it's he. Yitzhak means he will cry out, and the vav changes the time by Yitzhak. And he cried out. Who's doing the crying out? Moshe, Moses. El, unto, yod he, waw he, right? To Adonai, to the name. Lemor, saying, Ma eseh la'am hazeh, od me'at usekaluni. Okay. Ma, what? Eseh. So this, you guys know this verb. This was one of the verbs, one of the words of the day. Asa is to do or to make. And you see the aleph at the beginning? If you've learned your pronouns, you know ani with an aleph means I. Also anochi, they both start with aleph, right? So that's your little sign that this is I, is the subject, I. So Moshe is talking about himself. So what, I say, what will I do? La'am. Am is people. Lamed is two or four. A is the. Le, a, am. For the people. Ha-ze. Ha means the, ze means this. So literally for the people of this one. Ma say la'am hazeh, what shall I do for this people? Od. Od means like more. More. Me'at. Me'at is a little bit. Like in the passage where Yeshua says, narrow is the path and fewer those who find it, right? The Greek ologos, it maps to this word, me'at. Right? It's just a little bit, just a few who find it, who find that narrow path. Me'at is actually ologos. Okay? Usekaluni. Sakal means to stone, like to pelt with stones, literally. Okay? U is and. Sekalu means they stoned, but the u, that's the vav. It changes the time, just like up here, right? He just looks a little bit different here. And so instead of they stone, they will stone ni. Now at the end of the word, that reminds you of ani. For I. They will stone I. They'll stone me. Okay? You can really feel for Moshe here, right? Okay, sit tight. We're almost finished with our study for tonight. Thanks for those encouraging words, Bruce. I love it when people tell me, by the way, there's a group of people here, because then I look at the number and, okay, we got more. You know, you feel better. You know, as a teacher, pastor, you know, you feel better when there's more people. All right, verse 5. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe. Then Adonai said, El unto Moshe. I like how Moshe here, he's on a knee, he's listening, right? And maybe this will be our last one, because I think we're going to go a little bit over 45 minutes, so we'll stop with this verse, I think. Avor lifnei ha'am. Okay. Avar, I know you guys, a lot of you know avar, right? Some of you are in the Hebrew roots movement, and Hebrew roots guys, I know they're big on this word, right? Like an Avery is a Hebrew, and they'll say one who's crossed over, right? Although really, Hebrew means a descendant of Aber, but that's fine. The verb doesn't mean to cross over, right? So, avor, this is an imperative, it's a command. Cross over, lifnei ha'am, before, literally to the faces of the people is what it says, ha'am, the people. So, le is to, panim is faces or face, and when we drop a mem sound, an m sound at the end of the word, that makes it of. So to the faces of ha'am, the people. So before the people, in the presence of the people. Yeah, crossover, good, Yakar, yep. Bruce says, I will force them to watch separately. Oh yeah, now you're talking more likes. I like it. It's fine, you guys can watch together. That's fun though. The kach, this was today's Hebrew word of the day, right? Like, remember? Take, lakach. And in the example we gave, it was from Breshit 22, from Genesis 22. Kachna et bincha et yachidecha shalhafta. Take now your son, your unique one whom you love, right? So the lamed is gone. Kach is the command. Take, the kach. And take, it means with. Cha is you. Miziknei, from the zekanim, elders. The mem went away, so it's elders of Yisrael, Israel. Umatecha. And mate means staff of cha, of you. Asher which, or with which, because when you put an object in front of the verb, usually it's an instrumental use, like you're using that thing like the hammer to hammer with. So with which he kita, you struck, or you will strike, bo, with it, et hayeor. So that was the Nile. You struck the Nile with that thing, right? Kach, take. Beyadecha. Be is in. Yad is hand. This thing is also called a yad, the thing on the screen. Yad with hand of cha of you, with your hand. By the way, this is what we use when we read from a Torah scroll, right? So you don't touch the Torah with your grubby fingers. It's not that the Torah is like so holy you don't dare touch it. They're very, very expensive. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Our congregation doesn't even have one. So you can't touch it with your finger, your oily finger. It's not going to last for generations then, right? So beyad, you use a yad instead. You use this guy. Beyad decha, with the hand of you, with your hand, ve halachta, and you shall go. Okay, halachta is you went. Vehalakta is, and you will go. And just verse 6, we'll finish up. Sorry, I passed the 45-minute mark, but we're going to be pretty close. Verse 6, Hinni, behold. Hine is behold, right? Behold, or look. And then the ni means I. Behold, I. And this, of course, is the famous, when God speaks to Abraham, and he says, Avram, and he says, Hineni, here am I, right? Is really kind of, so behold, I, here, Omed. Ahmad is to stand. You think about Ahmad Rashad, tall basketball player. He's standing. So Ahmad, this is Omed. I am standing, or I will be standing. There's no time in this kind of verb. It's called a participle. Lefanecha, before your face. So in your presence. Sham, there. Al Hatsur, near Ha, the Tsur. This is a big rock. Big rock is a Tsur. And Evan is a littler rock, right? Bechorev, at Chorev. Vehikita. Hikita, this verb is super hard to recognize. This is a real pain. It's what we call a doubly weak verb. So the verbs usually have three roots, right? This one is nun, kaf, hey. And you remember when a verb ends in hey, the hey goes away, okay? And then, okay, I'm going to end up flipping you off, so I should have changed this. And then the first one, when a verb starts with nun, with the end sound, that often goes away, okay? So we'll just show. So there's one root letter left, okay? The kaf, that's the only root from this verb that survives. I remember in my youth coming across this and going, what in the world is the root of this verb? I couldn't find it, you know? So, okay. So the hey at the beginning means to cause, right? So to cause, nacha is to strike. King James renders to smite. This is the famous smite. Nacha is to smite. So hikita, you will cause to strike. So you will strike, we'll just say. You struck, and the vav changed the time, and you will strike. Vatsur. Beit is on or in or against. Ah is the tsur, the rock. V'yatseu mimenu mayim. Okay, yatsa is to go out. This is where we get the word for Exodus, the yitziat Mitzrayim, the going out from Egypt. Yatseu, the yod is he or they, the u is they. So yatseu is they will go out. V'yatseu, and they will go out. What will go out? Mimenu, from him. So that's the rock. It's calling a him. From it, mayim. That's the word for water. It's a plural. That's why this is plural. The water will go out from it. Veshata ha'am. And ha'am, the people will shata. They will drink. Okay, and that puts us at 48 minutes. I'm going to stop. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Any final questions, feel free to type them. Hey, shalom, Alec. Glad you made Achi. Thank you for the likes. I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and end the video so people don't feel obligated to stick around. But if you have questions or comments in the chat, I'll keep the chat open for a bit. It times out eventually. And you can always ask us your questions at t.me/messianic chat. And let's see, there's one more thing I want to show you real quick as we end. Please make sure to check out also the wonderful teachings. Hold on. Boom. Of Dr. Dwayne. He's got an amazing step through he's doing the entire book of Isaiah. That's over at matsadi.com or youtube.com/at Dr. Dwayne D. Miller. I think you'll really appreciate that. And we really would like you to go there because seems like he's being shadow banned for his opinions. And so at least the word of mouth, let's hope that people go over there and check out his stuff. Really, really nice, deep teachings. Okay, shalom, shalom, you guys. Have a great time. Have a great rest of the day or evening, whatever the case may be.